In today's episode, I'm looking at players who I think might be breakout stars in the NBA restart down in Orlando. Mikal Bridges.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. We are almost back into the swing of things in the NBA's restart in Orlando. So what I thought I'd do in the last show before we get back into the regular sort of scheme of things, the regular flow, is look at players who I think might be breakout guys. Now, whether that translates into long-term value or whether that just inflates their dynasty value for sell-high moments or inflates their ADP in drafts next year, I'm not sure. And that'll all be on an individual basis. But these are guys I think that might blow up a little bit down in Orlando and become a little bit more well-known to the casual fan than they are beforehand. So let's talk about who I think those guys are right now. The first one I want to talk about is a member of the Brooklyn Nets, and it's Jarrett Allen. Because the Brooklyn Nets at this point, well, not at this point, for the rest of this restart, whether that is only 8 games, we don't know if they continue in the playoffs or not. I imagine they will. But Jarrett Allen is the only center on the roster. That is a big opportunity for him. They've been playing some small lineups with Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot and Rodions Kurucs as centers as well. He's only getting 26 minutes a night in the scrimmage games. I think that'll bump to 30. He's averaging 13 and 10. He's shooting 77% from the field. He's not a stretch big at any stage, but the blocks haven't been there. They will come up. We're going to see big numbers from Allen. Wouldn't be surprised if in this 8-game restart he's a top 50 player. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets even higher in this restart section. So absolutely a name to watch. Now, what that does for his value next season, I don't know. I think he's a prime candidate to be traded because of the Nets' fascination with a worse center in DeAndre Jordan. I don't know what the new coach will do, whether that will be Jacques Vaughn or not, but we know that one of the reasons Kenny Atkinson was moved out was because DeAndre Jordan wasn't playing enough. The first game that Atkinson wasn't there, Jordan started over Allen, which of course was the absolute incorrect decision. So, will Allen agitate for a move? Will the Nets look to move on from Allen while he's got some value before they bury him again behind DeAndre Jordan? I'm not sure, but this is absolutely his opportunity. And if he balls out here, maybe there is just the Kyrie and KD can't come and say, well, look, I know DeAndre Jordan's my mate, but this other guy's been so much better. We can't justify forcing you to start DeAndre. And I think that's a big opportunity here for Allen to do that. Absolutely someone that we need to watch across these whole 8 games, probably 9 games with a play-in game, maybe 10 games with 2 play-in games, and maybe they get into a first-round series. But I expect Allen to average a double-double, maybe 1.5 to 2 blocks, big field goal percentage, and let's see what he can do with a really, really big opportunity. Super pumped to see what he is able to do for this Brooklyn Nets team. After him, it is his teammate, Caris LeVert. This is a pretty obvious one, but I thought I'd throw it in there. He's going to have a usage that absolutely explodes out of his ball sack. He's in the 3 scrimmage games so far, his usage is 35%. Who else is taking shots on this team? No Kyrie Irving, no Spencer Dinwiddie, no Taurean Prince even. You're going to have, who else has got big usage? Tyler Johnson's had a 24% usage. Joe Harris is at 22%. Janan Musa's at 22. These are not high usage guys. It's going to be all LeVert. He's going to get big assist opportunities. Now, Chris Chiozza is going to get some assists as well, but LeVert's going to have the ball in his hands almost every time down there. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a combined assist percentage and usage percentage of 70%, maybe even 80% through these games. Efficiency is always going to be a concern with LeVert. Only 42% shooting so far in the scrimmages, but encouragingly, 82% from the line. 17% from 3 is obviously rough. He's going to just bludgeon us with volume, and he's going to put up really, really big numbers. And I think that is absolutely going to inflate his value for next season because he won't do this when Dinwiddie, Irving, and Durant are all there. He just won't have that opportunity, and he is a prime candidate to be overdrafted if, as I expect, he's able to put up a real monster-type performance here in Orlando. And I don't really see any way that he won't put up a monster performance. He's the best player on this team by a considerable margin. He's the only shot creator on this team. He's probably the second, or I guess Tyler Johnson's somewhat of a shot creator. But LeVert is the only shot creator that's good, the only guy that can pass for others as well, and he can play some defense. He's averaging 1.7 steals across those 3 games as well in only 26 minutes. He's primed for some massive numbers, some massive usage, some massive scoring, and some pretty hurtful efficiency numbers, but a real chance to be a top 40, maybe even top 35, top 30 player in this restart scenario. So Caris LeVert and Jarrett Allen, 2 guys that we absolutely have to have a look at. Now, if I'm going to just throw in another Nets guy, Rowdy Rodion's Kurucs has looked really good. He looked really good as a rookie. He's looked pretty good in these scrimmages, averaging 13 and 5 with 3 triples. Huge hole there at power forward. They were starting Luwawu-Cabarrot. He's not the future. Kurucs might not be the future either, but he's definitely more of the future than what Luwawu-Cabarrot is. So he's just a name to watch for some DFS value. He's getting steals, he's blocking shots, he's hitting threes, he's scoring. All of the things that intrigued us when he came over from Barcelona B and when he played as a rookie. And then he was weirdly just completely absent and played shithouse, let's be honest, this season for the Nets. So 3 Nets that I'm really, really looking at. Maybe I'll throw in Justin Anderson as well because I really like what he can do. Hopefully he can put together a run that at least keeps him in the NBA for some level of time. Start your morning with the news that matters in just 10 minutes. Axios Today host Nyla Budu and a team of award-winning journalists will bring you the latest analysis and insight into the trends shaping our world. And you also have to say it with me now. You don't have to, but I'm encouraging you to say it because sports are back, baby. Been waiting for this day since March. All of the US sports ready to kick off. And now that has happened, only one thing's on my mind, and that is my bookie. It's a home run. It's a slam dunk. It's a triple overtime game-winning shot, all wrapped up into one. I love it. You love it. And that should be all you need to hear in order to start betting today. My bookie has up-to-the-minute odds on all your favorite teams at the start of Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NHL all kicking off. With my bookie, it's easy. You bet, you win, and they pay. Why stop with baseball? You can go to all of these things. Futures for the NFL, futures for basketball, futures for hockey. MyBookie is already accepting bets on all of your favorite NBA, NHL, and NFL games. There's never been a better time to start exploring the world of online sports betting. And join today, and MyBookie will match your deposit 100%. Plus, they'll toss you a free $10 MLB future wager. All you got to do is enter promo code LOCKEDONNBA when signing up. Remember, at MyBookie, the terms are simple. You bet, you win, and they pay. All right, let's go on to the next guy I want to look at here, and that is a San Antonio Spur, and that is Jakob Poeltl. Much like Jarrett Allen in San Antonio, or in Brooklyn, Poeltl is going to be the starting center for the Spurs, and the only competition he has for minutes there is Drew Eubanks. And that should give us some confidence that Poeltl is going to get at least the bulk of the minutes. He had he's not going to be a big scorer, but what he is a good rebounder. He's a good shot blocker. He's an efficient guy. In the games that he's played so far, he's averaging, before today's game, 10 and 9 with 1.5 blocks. And then in today's game, he came out and had 8 and 6 with another block and 2 steals. He's going to block shots. He's going to get your field goal percentage. He's going to score maybe double digits. He's going to get double-digit rebounds, perhaps. He's a good offensive rebounder. And more importantly, he's going to be out there a bulk of minutes. In the last scrimmage game today, 25 minutes, Eubanks played 15 minutes, with Metu getting 5 minutes. So we're going to see a lot of Poeltl, who is an upcoming restricted free agent. It's a big opportunity for Jakob to put in some big games. Especially with a lineup with DeMar DeRozan at the 4, there is nobody else to grab rebounds on this team outside of DeJounte Murray. So he's going to have big opportunities. He's going to be the only defensive player there. He's going to be, or the only defensive big man. He's going to be the only guy that can protect the rim. Outside, again, they're weird. In their starting 5, their other rebounder is a point guard. Their other rim protector is a point guard, DeJounte Murray and Derrick White, respectively. Poeltl is going to get big opportunities, and I think he's a sneaky chance to be a top 50, maybe top 40 player in this restart, just through opportunity alone and being able to bulk up the metrics that help in your fantasy rank, and that is big field goal percentage with big block numbers. And that's I think he's averaging almost 3 blocks per 36 minutes this season, Jakob Poeltl. In fact, I probably should confirm that number. But he is, and then when you extrapolate per 36s out, they often drop because you're trying to avoid foul trouble, and it's hard to get that level of production that completely extrapolates. But you can still look at it as a pretty strong number. Let's have a look. He averaged, 3.1 blocks per 36 minutes this season. So that will drop a little bit. But Jakob Poeltl has a really, really big opportunity. as does his teammate, Maximum Derrick White.
Maximum Derrick.
Now we can look at today's game. Now he has started all of these scrimmage games alongside Lonnie Walker and DeJounte Murray. Finally, he didn't score that well, only 8 points on 21% shooting, but importantly, he took 14 shots, the most on the team. He was only 1 of 6 from 3, but look at what else he did. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. If that doesn't get you turgid, I'm not sure what does. You hit 2 more of those shots, and you're talking about what, a 12-5-5-3-3 game, and it's really sexy. It looks like he's going to get big minutes. It looks like we're going to finally see him next to DeJounte. I think Derrick White, who had a bit of a breakout in the playoffs last year and then was handcuffed and stifled most of this season, is going to put up some really big numbers. Yeah, and even in the first couple of games, he averaged 16.5 points across his first 2 contests in the restart, with more blocks, with more steals. He is a fantasy darling because of his ability to get defensive stats. He can rebound, he can get assists. Hopefully he hits threes a bit better than he did today, 1 of 6 shooting. But he's got a complete package here that can really be... And before today's games, in the scrimmage games, which means jack shit, of course, but he was the 8th ranked player in out of everyone playing in fantasy, averaging 23 minutes a game. That is absolutely something worth looking at. There is a massive opportunity for Maximum Derrick here to put up some big numbers, to put up numbers that make us look at him as the guy that we start next to DeJounte Murray or as the point guard. To me, he is a starting caliber point guard. He's a top 80 in a regular type season fantasy point guard if he gets 30 minutes, and his ability to block shots as a point guard is almost unrivaled in today's NBA. Maximum Derrick White is someone that I'm super keen on seeing really start to fulfill, hopefully, some of his potential with a big opportunity. It looks like it is coming along just at the moment, which is obviously great news for him and for the Spurs fans. Let's go on to the next guy on my list. I could have actually, before I do that, I could have included Lonnie Walker there because I think he's got an opportunity. He's a bit of a points-only sort of a player, which is never great for fantasy, but it looks like he's going to have the opportunity. He scored 12 today with 4 assists, but no steals, no blocks, and only 1 rebound. Limited 3-point shooter as well. So there are concerns, and he's a player that maybe gets a little bit overvalued fantasy-wise because he can do the flashy things and then struggle in the other areas, but there is going to be opportunity there for Lonnie Walker. The next guy we talk about has been a favourite of mine for a while, and that is Mikal Bridges of the Phoenix Suns. Bridges, with no Kelly Oubre, and the fact that he's really good, is going to have that opportunity. Monty Williams dicked him around pretty much all season, refused to give him the minutes that he needed, and when he did give him those minutes that he needed, we saw the Suns really start to take hold, that starting lineup. And in fact, the fact that Monty Williams went to a starting lineup of Ayton and Baines before he decided to put Bridges in there was asinine. He at least... and people make mistakes, coaches make mistakes. I guess having the foresight to go, shit, that was a terrible idea, and getting to the right conclusion eventually is a positive for Williams. Deciding that Baines over Bridges was the right call initially was terrible, but Bridges needs to start. He needs to be 33 minutes a night for this team moving forward, and there is no way he's not getting that playing time here for this team that's without Kelly Oubre, and Dario Saric has been banged up all through the scrimmage games. That is what is important there. Now, he had another... We know what he can do. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, perimeter defenders, or going to become that. But today, he blew up. 26 points in 28 minutes. Yes, on 83% shooting, which is impossible. But he is a 40% three-point shooter at Villanova, and we haven't seen it in the NBA. Something weird went wrong with his form. If he can start to become a good three-point shooter again, then shit, it is absolutely on. 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. He carried this team to a huge performance with Booker and Ayton both performing poorly. It was the Bridges show, and that is massive for him. He is, before today's game, he was averaging 15 and 5 with 1.5 blocks. Unbelievable opportunity for him to put up a top 60 run, maybe a top 50 run. If he was a 32-minute-a-night player, he would be an absolute guaranteed top 90 guy. Actually, he was like 97th this year. He'd be probably a top 70 guy in the season beginning next year. Just depends on how Monty Williams uses him. But this is the opportunity for him to blow up and go, oh, this guy's actually really good. He's going to be a super fantasy asset. And I realize that most of the players on this list are the blokes that I've had pretty significant hard-ons for over the last couple of years. I know that. But I think that everything's coming together, and we're seeing why I like these guys. Now, I don't expect 26 points from Bridges. He can be a 14-point guy with 2 steals, 1 block, 3 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting good percentages. I'll take it every day of the week. And then when this comes on top of it, it's fantastic. But he was looking so good out there. I think he's going to be a sub-all-star level player, but a really bloody good starter who's going to be an analytics darling for years to come. And this is the chance. This is the opportunity. The 8 games here, Suns aren't making the playoffs. The 8 games here is for everyone to see, oh yeah, he's actually really good. And the Sixers, maybe they screwed up by trading, well not maybe, they screwed up by trading him for Zaire Smith in a first round draft pick, which then they moved on to the Clippers to end up getting Tobias Harris, who then they moved that on to the Oklahoma City Thunder to get Paul George. But the fact that Bridges would have helped this Sixers team immensely is not lost on any Sixers fans, I'm pretty sure, at this point in time. The next guy I want to look at is probably someone who doesn't have quite as big of an opportunity, and that's Terence Davis in Toronto. Pat McCaw is out with an undisclosed injury. He's also not good, and Terence Davis is significantly better. Davis has put up some pretty impressive numbers so far in these games here. Now, his game today against Phoenix wasn't his best one. 17 minutes for 2 points with 4 turnovers. That's pretty rough. But before that, Davis had 14 points in 19 minutes. He can pass, he can defend, he can score, he can shoot. I think we're talking about, and most of these other guys, we're talking about Spurs guys and Nets guys and Suns guys. They're not going to be in the playoffs. Toronto is. They're a really good team. Davis is an undrafted rookie, and he's going to be a key piece of this team, I believe, at least through the first round, and he should be getting these minutes consistently over Hollis Jefferson and over Pat McCaw. I think this is an opportunity for him to step up and go, well, we really love this guy as an 8th man. Maybe he can become a starter-level player in 2 or 3 years. I think that while there might be some buy low ability for him for Dynasty, it's not going to last long, if it even exists at all. But this is a massive opportunity for Terry Davis to really step up and show not only hardcore people or super invested Dynasty people or fantasy people just how good he can be. I think especially in these 8 games when the Raptors will be going a little bit cautious with some guys, we'll get that opportunity for Davis to really blow up and have a few real big games, and that's going to get us pretty excited. The last guy that's going to get me super hard is Isaac Bonga. You know that I've been talking about this guy for a while. 2nd round pick of the Lakers. The advanced stuff, the translations loved him. No opportunity in LA. Goes across to the Wizards for free, along with Tom Bryant. And it doesn't really get the big opportunities there either. But again, all the advanced numbers, all the on-off stuff, it loves him. Why? Because he just does shit that makes sense and wins games. 27 minutes a night in his 3 scrimmage games, only 10 points. But 5 boards, over 2 assists, a steal, almost a block. 87% from the line on a wild 5-3 throw attempts per game. Only 39% shooting, and that's always going to hold him back. But he's just a really good player that makes teams better. Will he light it up in the box score? Occasionally he will. He might have some of those Derrick White 5 rebound, 5 assists, 3 steal, 3 blocks games. That's not outrageous for Bonga. It's probably more outrageous for him to get to 20 points than to do that. But he can show an ability to score. He can hold the ball. He can handle the ball. I think he's probably a better option than Troy Brown overall for this team, but they'll probably invest a little bit more in Troy. But this is an opportunity for Bonga with no Beal, with no Bertans, with no Wall to establish himself. He started most of the year, but in like a 19-minute role. I think we can push that to 24 or 25 minutes a game here and see what Bonga can do with that extra time, extra playing time, extra responsibility. That's the word that I'm searching for. So Isaac Bonga, he's only 20. He doesn't turn 21 for another 3 or 4 months. He is still super young. In fact, he is the youngest player on this Wizards team. And this is a team that includes Rui Hachimura, who's 2 years older than him, Troy Brown, another guy that was drafted last year, Mo Wagner, who's 23 years of age. Like, he is the youngest player on this team. And he has already shown an ability to influence basketball games to be a winner. You see the Wizards get pounded and everyone's a -12 and he sits there as the starter as a +9. You go, how did that even happen? Is he holding everybody together when he's out there? Because it sure feels like that. And this is 2 years of some limited samples, but also translating from his play in Germany and his G League play. It all adds up together. Absolutely, he's a name to watch. Because if anything comes around to even a below average level offensively, then I think he's a really quality rotation player. And I think we're going to have that opportunity to see Bonga show that in this NBA restart. That'll do it for me. Just a short one today. Talking about bubble breakouts, Jarrett Allen, Caris LeVert, Jakob Poeltl, Maximum Derrick White, Mikal Bridges, Terence Davis, Isaac Bonga. I threw a little bit of Lonnie Walker talk in there as well. And also watch for Keldon Johnson on the Spurs, who looked pretty good in today's game too. Just talking about some guys who I think they're going to have that opportunity to announce themselves somewhat to the NBA world. Tomorrow, I'm back to preview the first 2 games. Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, Pelicans. We're going to be talking about the Battle of LA and the Battle of the Jazz nickname in tomorrow's show. Looking at FanDuel, looking at DraftKings, looking at pricing. Just looking at these games in general. It's super exciting to be back. I'm also going to be doing a live stream on Fade the Noise as well, a pre-lock live stream 3 days a week, so make sure you're checking that out. I'll tweet links out to that as well, so make sure you're checking that out for all of the latest up-to-date news for betting and DFS purposes. Guys, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on YouTube. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.